Hi all. There is at the moment a recruitment drive on chessworld.net for an intercities league, so you can actually represent your city. And there's also coming up shortly after this a favourite cities league. So even if you're not really in that city, if you've got a favourite city, you can represent that. The league schedule is actually currently a bit behind, and there's a new proposal that after 10 days of normal recruitment, that guest members might be permitted to join in the fun. And I'm mentioning that to you if you are on chessworld.net and you would like to play in either or both leagues, please let me know. So if you want to play for your city, just let me know your nickname in this video. And if you're not registered on chessworld.net, this is a good time to register, because I could mention it again in a few days' time, or once you've played a few games especially, then you'll be a good candidate that I could just pick you up for these leagues. And to celebrate, the intercity leagues, and it did start with, in Correspondence Chess, how cities did once, play each other by post. I'm going to look at this game between the City of London and the City of Paris, and the date on it is given as 1836, and actually the French defence originated from this game. So Paris, playing black, played the French defence, and I think it was the City of London which gave the French defence that name. Someone recently said that I was a bit negative about, saying I didn't want to play the French today. It's a bit cramped. Well, the French defence is cramped, but that's not necessarily, a negative thing, because in being cramped, it's provoking, the opponent to gain a lot of space, create potential weaknesses, which, can be exploited later. So, in a way, it's a good counter-attacking system, to have an element of provocation. So we'll see how now London and Paris played. So e4, e6, the French defence, d4, d5, and now London played the exchange variation, which today is seen as particularly one of the duller variations, but still difficult sometimes to play against, especially if you want to try and win with the black pieces. So knight f3, knight f6, symmetry, bishop d3, and now black doesn't play bishop d6, black instead plays c5. So the City of Paris were content to get an isolated queen's pawn potentially after, if white plays d takes c5, this pawn will be isolated. But a check was thrown in here, and now d takes c5 was played. After castles, now bishop e3. So the City of London wanted to try and retain the extra pawn, and perhaps use d4 at some point. But the City of Paris played rook e8, so activating that rook and potentially useful eyeing up the white queen. So although black is temporarily a pawn down, white's going to have some difficulty maintaining that pawn, and the queen is slightly awkward there on e2. So now bishop b5 was played, knight c6, and now white played knight d4. So the City of London's a bit behind in development here, but maybe is trying to give back the pawn to try and establish at least d4 pressure, an outpost on d4, blockading this isolated pawn. So the City of Paris played bishop takes c5, and then we saw bishop takes c6. Bit controversial, giving up the light square bishop. This could be potentially dangerous and unchallenged now on these light squares. B takes c. And now here the move c3 was played from the City of London. Knight takes c6, I assume, is not playable really, because I think queen b6, and now white would be in real trouble. So if knight d4, bishop takes d4. If bishop takes c5, rook takes e2, check. So this would be totally lost, I think, for white. So white just played c3, just cementing that knight on d4. But it's no longer an isolated queen's pawn. It's supported now by this pawn on c6. So really I think black's doing very well now. And look at these light square weaknesses as well. So without the light square bishop, these are going to be quite, potentially exploitable. So really black has the edge. So bishop takes d4. voluntarily giving up the two bishops. But after c takes d4, now a liberating move was played in typical French style, liberation. c5 puts immediate pressure again on d4. So if d takes c5, d4, just winning a piece. So white's really in a defensive position now. So queen d3 was played. Now queen b6, putting more pressure on d4 and also on b2. So white decided to castle. And now we see also another point of this move was to support bishop a6. So these lovely light squares are being exploited. White definitely is on the defensive and has just lost the exchange as well after queen takes b3, a takes b3, bishop takes f1. So black is ahead on material. Knight g4. And here white decides to go in as a final roll of the dice for the pawns on the queen side to be potentially dangerous. So d takes c5. Black took on e3 and took on e3 again. Now knight d2. So the exchange down, but there's some potential danger of these pawns. Rook a e8, now b4. Rook d3, harassing the knight and offering the a7 pawn. So potentially it's very dangerous two connected passed pawns, but it is a major piece sacrifice. So perhaps the city of Paris at this stage had worked out a very cunning way to defend against these very dangerous pawns, or seemingly very dangerous. So rook takes d2, b5. So what had black got up their sleeves? We're about to find out. Rook takes b2, b6, approaching real danger levels now if b7 and c6 are played. d4, the counter-attack comes in. So this pawn is going to be really dangerous as well. If d3, check, d2, it will be queening soon. b7, now d3 was played. And now it seems white has the seemingly dangerous rook a8, which was played. But here, black is keeping things together just by playing a very simple winning move. I wonder if you can spot it if I give you 5 seconds, starting from now. Okay, the winning move was just king f8. So making sure that white needs at least 1, 2, 3 moves to get in here. So an example continuation. So let's play c6. d2, and this pawn is really a menace now, and it's coming in for queening before white's pawns. So c6, d2, rook takes, king takes, say. Now here, unlike my game recently, black's king is actually useful for holding up a blockade. After king e2, there's king d8, so just in time to stop c7. So that'll be winning. And if c7, then there's d1 queen. So just one move too late. So that's how the City of London went down to the City of Paris in the French defence. So the French defence remains a really popular opening today. And here, despite the exchange variation being played, black created dynamic imbalance by offering that pawn temporarily. Got the light square bishop, was immediately useful for skewing and winning material later, especially after this queen b6, hitting d4, b2, preparing bishop a6, all very logical from black. A very nicely played game, really, considering it was just 1836 this game played by post. And white's exchange sack was prepared for perhaps with accurate calculations, so that these two pawns would be counterbalanced by this pawn just in time. So king f8, and the City of London resigned. So anyway, yeah, if you'd like to represent your city, please let me know your nickname on chessworld.net. Please leave any comments or questions on YouTube. Thanks very much.